Hey everybody, welcome to the Giver Method channel. My name is Jake and I'm so glad that you're able to join me. Now today we're going to be discussing something that messes with many of us without even realizing that it is. And that's when self-doubt dresses itself up as like common sense or calls itself being realistic. You know, you may have heard those lines that people may have tell you, may hear them all the time, which is like, you know, be realistic or don't get your hopes up. Or one I love, like, people like you don't do things like that. Does that sound familiar? Like these phrases, like they sound protective, like almost loving, right? Like they're keeping you safe from disappointment or letdown or something. But here's the thing that I've learned. Most of the time, those words aren't keeping you safe at all. It's actually like they're just fear. They're fear wearing like this really convincing mask, whispering just loud enough to keep you from playing, like to keep you playing small, to not go for that big thing. And it tries to disguise itself, calling itself wisdom, right? Like I've seen this over and over again in my own journey, as well as in the lives of parents and entrepreneurs and employees that I've worked with. And this is the big thing, like the big thing, like our biggest limits aren't the external stuff. Like the biggest limits aren't stuff like money or time or responsibility. It's those sneaky inner stories that we tell ourselves about being practical, being responsible. We start calling like our dreams naive, you know, or irresponsible. Like we tell ourselves like wanting more might be selfish, and we end up shrinking our lives to fit someone else's idea of what realistic should be. And you end up feeling that. You end up feeling that overwhelm. If you're feeling more overwhelmed, burnout, you know, stress, anxiety as a parent, an entrepreneur, as an employee, grinding away, like it very well could live up to a lot of these fears, just hiding themselves, disguising themselves. I mean, if you are a parent who's convinced yourself that, you know, wanting to do anything big beyond raising your kids is maybe selfish or something along those lines, or maybe if you're an entrepreneur, keeping your, I don't know, you're keeping your vision really safe and small because you don't want to look foolish, or if you're an employee that you know who talks yourself out of maybe going for that promotion or the side project because it feels impractical, then this is going to be for you. Now, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder. I'm the author of this book. It's called The Giver Method. It came out in November. Since coming out, it's been an Amazon bestseller, selling thousands of copies. It has tons of 5-star reviews. I'm going to put a link down in the description where you can go get yourself a copy because it is the best $10 that you can invest in yourself. It's on Amazon. You can go look up The Giver Method by Jake Talbert, or you can use the link in the description. But everything we're going to talk about today is grounded in some of the principles and keys that are in here. But what's really cool about the book and what people love about it is the things that we talk about, like today. It's going to dive so much deeper, plus it's going to have access to worksheets and guides and exercises that you can go do so that you can start discovering your gifts and superpowers, creating more influence and impact in your life, more value for the people around you. And that way you have better, deeper relationships and better engagements and conversations with those around you. You live a more fulfilled life. You're able to actually have more joy, delight in your day-to-day life. So that way, like, gosh, step into who it is that you're meant to be. So once again, I recommend that you go get yourself a copy on Amazon. I said it's the best $10 that you can invest in yourself, you know, as a part of that. Now, everything in the book, as we go through it, like I like to ground it in the really practical things from my own life because I've been there. You know, I'm a parent. I've got 3 kids. I've been an entrepreneur. I've been in that 9-to-5 job, grinding away, like in the sea of cubicles of just the humming lights, trying to get through my days. Like I've been there, and so I like to use my own story to help guide you through that process so you can see what it's like when you get to the other side. And now with this topic, of course, like I'll never forget when I caught myself being like telling myself that I was being realistic, right? Using that as like a personal safety blanket, you know, things like having a business idea that really lit me up. You know, something that could really serve a lot of people and create massive impact. But every time I thought about going for it, that voice in my head showed up being like, you know, hey, be practical, Jake. Like, you've got a family, play it safe. Like, what if that disrupts what you're doing day to day? And like for months, I wore this like I'm being realistic, like as almost like a badge of honor. I thought I was being like wise or mature or responsible. And then I met someone who had done exactly what I wanted to do with fewer resources than I have. A similar family setup and just had way more courage. And that moment flipped a switch for me. Like my so-called, like that realistic mindset I'd been giving myself wasn't wisdom at all. It was just fear, plain and simple. And we may not always call it that. It may show up in other ways, but that's what it is. The wild part about all this, like what I love whenever I'm working on the book or these videos, is I get to do a bunch of data and research as a part of it. Like what's wild is that the research out there show that people who go after these so-called unrealistic goals actually achieve way more than those who stick to being safe. People are going for those reasonable targets. The breakthroughs, the ones that change industries and families and lives, they don't come from playing it safe. They come from people who dared to ignore the rule book and look at what was possible and feel that thing calling them forward and then take action because of it. And so today I want to cover these 7 different strategies, principles that parents and entrepreneurs and everyday difference makers can use to break free from this fear-based realistic thinking and start living the way that they actually want to, so that they live more fulfilled, like a more fulfilled life with more joy, more lit up, more energized, right? Like, these are steps. Once again, I pulled them directly from the Giver Method, and like, that's going to be where we're going to learning to like spot fear where it's hiding in plain sight, so that you can finally step into these gifts that you have and create the impact that you were meant to make. So once again, if you want to get the book, you want to dive deeper into it, you can go on Amazon, look up The Giver Method. You can use the link in the description. You can also check out thegivermethod.com for all of our other resources we have and ways that we help people. You also follow us on all the social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, like I said, or check out thegivermethod.com. Now, if you are feeling like you're like, hey, I love all the ideas of this, Jake, and as we go through, you're like, I love it, I want to go faster in my development, or I need support, I need someone there in my corner, well, then I just opened up a few one-on-one coaching spots. So if you need someone in your corner, or you want to go faster and you want to move right now, then there's a link down in the description that you can go click and check out the coaching page, see all the details, and if it makes sense, book a call. Also, like, there's a lot of people who watch these videos that maybe lead a team or run a podcast, host an event, or gather people who they know like would love this message or it would make a great impact for them. If so, like, let's talk about how we could bring this work to them in a super practical, real world way. There's a link down below where we can talk about speaking, podcasting, things like that. And of course, if this video sparks anything for you, like, drop me a comment, let me know what lands, because I love to respond to those. And of course, like the video, of course, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications so that you don't miss out on any of the content I put out all week on these topics. Cool? Now, with that, let's dive into it. Let's talk about how you can stop letting that fear, like, that's disguised as common sense, hold you back and start living the big, bold, like, deeply aligned life you want. All right, so let's dive in. Our first one, that first strategy, I refer to as, like, there's a fear wisdom detection system where, it's common sense, your common sense lie detector. You're gonna learn to distinguish between, like, protective fear and authentic guidance. Is it fear or wisdom? Like, let's check that, okay? As we kick this off, like, I wish someone had told me this years ago. Like, when your mind starts being, like, trying to be realistic, it isn't always being wise, it's just being scared. And the thing is, like, real wisdom is that friend who pulls up the chair and, like, wants to figure out that plan with you. Like, wisdom, like, it's calm, it's clear, it's honest, even when it's telling you to maybe slow down or prepare for more. Now, fear on the other side, like, is that loud, anxious voice that just keeps, like, trying to keep you safe by keeping you small. If it talks to a worried parent, like, think about your family here. People like us don't do that. You should be, like, grateful for what you already have. Like, it sounds caring, but in all reality, it's just shutting doors. Like, you haven't even tried to handle. Like, it's just shutting them on you right away. True practical wisdom says, like, hey, this is going to take some planning, or it's not going to be easy. Like, let's think this through. What are the resources we're going to need? But it never flat out yells to you like this is impossible. One version helps you move forward, the other makes you freeze where you're at. So here's what I want you to do. A couple of tips, exercises, things that you can do that are realistic to your life as a parent, an entrepreneur, someone who's working away in their job. The next time that you hear that voice, that realistic voice in your head, pause and ask yourself, like, is this voice helping me move forward, or is it stopping me before I even start? Like, pay attention to how your body feels. Like, if your shoulders are slumped, if your stomach sinks, like, or if you feel heavy, it's probably just fear in disguise, wearing that really cool mask like it's trying to help. You feel like, if you feel steady, you feel a calm nudge, it's probably more likely to be wisdom. And then one of my favorite ways to practice this is what I call, like, there's a wisdom check journal, where for a week, every time that you catch yourself saying, like, that's not realistic, like, write it down. Ask yourself, whose voice is this actually? Is this an actual fact, or is this just maybe an old story, old programming that I picked up somewhere along the way? And you're going to start to see how many times you limit your thoughts, you limit your beliefs, and you limit your potential with just these simple thoughts as they pop in your head. If you catch them, you start to recognize them, then all the rest of these exercises we're going to talk about, these strategies, are going to be so much more impactful. When you learn to tell the difference between these two things, like, you're going to take your power back. You stop letting these old fears and programming, or even other people's fears and programming decide how your life gets to be. You get to start making choices that feel true to you, not just safe or approved. This is where you stop living small. You start playing in the space where your gifts and your dreams, your big ideas actually belong, where you're more authentically you, which brings you so much more joy and and satisfaction. Now that takes us to the second strategy, which is like, there's a permission to dream practice. You need to develop courage to want more and do it without any sort of, it's the unapologetic desire, part of this. Like, I have permission to do this. I can dream bigger if I want to, so that we're not limiting our beliefs. Because one of the sneakiest things that like realistic thinking does is it makes us feel guilty for simply wanting more. We learn to shrink our dreams, explain them away before we ever give any part of that a shot. But here's the deal, like, those desires that are there, they're not random at all. They're little sparks pointing you forward to what you're actually built to do. A lot of us were taught that like wanting the bigger thing, is possibly naive or selfish. Like parents, like I hear it a lot from you, where it's like, you should focus on your kids, not on your dreams. Like entrepreneurs are being told like, hey, let's be practical, let's keep it small. Or the employee, like, hey, just be grateful you got the job. But most of that is just collective fear in a really good disguise. Like the truth, letting yourself like want what you want, like without any sort of apology or fear behind it, is actually like one of the boldest acts of self-respect that you can make. It's saying like, hey, my dreams matter. I don't need your permission. I don't need my permission to want them. It's okay. It doesn't mean like you're blowing up your responsibilities or acting reckless. It just means that you stop shutting yourself down before you can even start. So let's talk about how you can practice this and start practicing it like today. So there's this thing called the daily dream permission ritual, okay? Where each morning you're gonna write down something you want. It could be big, it could be small, like without explaining why it won't work. Maybe it's, I want to start a business. I want to take a solo trip. I want to create art that moves people. Like, just write it with no disclaimers and no like, but what ifs or anything like that. Just write out whatever that thing is, no matter how big or small it is, and start catching yourself when you throw in those dream deflating phrases. Like, I know this sounds crazy, or it possibly unrealistic, but like I'm thinking this, like whatever. Like instead, like practice saying it straight. Like I want to write a book. I want a doable business. Like, period. I want a better life for myself. I want to make this money. Whatever. Like, define that return that you want for based off time and energy and money and where you want to be spending those things. Like, and for once a week, like or once a week as you go through that, like have a like future you coffee chat sort of an idea. I love this idea of talking to your future self. Like, imagine sitting down with yourself who is 10 years down the road from you and ask, like, what do you wish like I had been brave enough to want? What dream did I let go of too soon? And you're going to be surprised how clearly that future vision of you calls out like the dreams that you're quietly holding back today. Now, this can be a game changer for a lot of people, because when you stop, having that apologetic, approach to your desires, you start seeing these new paths that you could, you never could spot before. You're opening yourself to opportunities because you can actually see them. Your dreams, like, they're not just daydreams, they're maps to life that feels truly yours. And when you stop playing small and start owning what you want, like, you open these doors that you didn't even know existed. And that's where, like, you want to build real momentum, where confidence grows, and where you become the kind of person who inspires everyone around you to go after what they really want too. I mean, it just makes a greater impact all around you. Now, our third one is like, there's this evidence hunting process, okay? You want to replace the assumption-based like limitations and programming you have in your head with like the realistic-based, like reality-based possibilities, okay? This is possibility-proof collection or your possibility-proof hunt, however you want to look at it. Because something most of us don't realize we're doing, like, we label things unrealistic without checking if like that's actually true. And we may use other terms or ways of describing it, but it comes down to like we're labeling it as unrealistic. We talk ourselves out of ideas before they see daylight, all because like these old stories, outdated advice, programming and wiring that's in our brains, or what our circle believes is normal. And the wild part about it is, like, most of us, like, most of these so-called, like, limitations that are out there that you're hearing, like, they're not real. Like, they're assumptions you actually just inherited from someone else, stuff that you picked up from your family, your friends, or what you saw around you while you were growing up. Like, if you've never seen someone in your neighborhood start a business, or someone your age switch careers, like, it's easy to think it can't be done. But once again, that's not the truth. That's just maybe untested thinking in your own world. So the fix is, like, you can go on a proof hunt where you're actually looking for, like, actual humans who did what you're thinking is possibly unrealistic or impossible. Like, you dig into their stories, you see what they started with, and you start to realize maybe it isn't impossible. Maybe it's new to you, and it's something that you need to go try, or you maybe need to dive deeper into. And so here's how you want to start this actual hunt, like how you look for that proof. So, the first thing is, like, start with this, like a possibility research, session, jam session, whatever. Like, where you grab one dream that you've labeled maybe as unrealistic, and you spend 30 minutes, like, searching for people who did it. Especially if they started with fewer resources or the same life stage where you're at. Write down their stories. Like, this is your evidence file that you can revisit anytime, like, old doubts start running in, like, your head, or you even find yourself saying those things out loud. Next, like, you do this, like, a path breakdown. Don't just admire the end result. Get curious about, like, what were the steps they took? What was the first tiny move? How long did it really take? What did they learn along the way? And you'll often see, like, the path is way messier, like, and more, I don't know, human than highlight reels and short video content would possibly suggest. But it's also that it's not just that it's messy and that things happen, but, like, it's also way more feasible. It's way more possible to accomplish. And finally, like, make it like this whole, like, why not me list, okay? Where you write down every reason, like, you can think of, like, why you can't do it. And then the next time, like, the next challenge is, like, for each one of those, like, find, like, evidence. Like, too old? Go find examples of people who started at your age. Like, no money? Look at people who bootstrapped that process. Not enough time? Find stories of busy parents or full-time employees who made that thing happen. You'll realize, like, most of the reasons are just fears, like, in some sort of a costume. And it's going to change everything for you when you start stacking up proof. Your brain can't, like, convince you that your dream is impossible. Instead, you're thinking, like, well, instead of thinking the who am I to try this, it's like, yeah, okay, so I can do it. Other people have done it, and if they can do it, I can figure that out. And that's going to switch everything for you. It moves you out of stuck mode into action mode. And trust me, once you see someone else do it, like, it plants that little seed that grows courage. You stop playing small. You stop, like, settling, and you start believing that your big, wild, maybe unrealistic idea might actually be exactly what you're meant to bring into this world, and that it's way closer than you think. And so that leads us to the fourth one, which is about this, like, authentic ambition alignment. So ensure your dreams reflect your values, not, like, any sort of external expectations that we saw on Instagram or something like that. Like, you need this, like, true north ambition check, because let's get real for a second. Like, one big reason that realistic thinking feels so loud is because deep down, like, some of us are chasing goals that aren't even meant to be ours to begin with. Like, we pick up dreams like hand-me-down clothes. Like, they might look like good on someone else, but, like, they don't quite fit us. And when you're pushing for something that doesn't actually light you up, like, of course it's going to feel heavy and forced and unrealistic. But here's the magic. Like, this is something to just really chew on. Like, when your goals, your dreams, the things you're working towards, like, when they match up with what you actually care about, you stop, like, they're going to stop feeling impossible and start feeling like the next natural step. Like, authentic ambition doesn't drain you. Even when it's hard, like, it fires you up because it feels like you're finally being true to yourself. So think about it this way. Like, there's this huge difference between trying to become someone that you're not to prove something, and stepping into a goal that feels like just the extension of who you already are. When your dreams come from, like, that place where, like, from that sort of place, like, all of those, like, be realistic warnings, like, start to sound really silly to you, because you're not trying to prove anything. You're just expressing who you are. So here's what I want you to do. Here's the things how this plays into real life. Start with a there's like a values and dreams check-in where I want you to grab a piece of paper, open up the notes app, whatever it is. I want you to jot down like, what are your top 5 values? The things that make you feel alive and grounded. And then look at your big goal and ask yourself, like, am I chasing this because of like, it's true to me, or because I think I should? And you're gonna be surprised what starts to pop up. Next, you want to do like an energy scan of yourself. Like close your eyes and picture yourself doing like, picture yourself like you're going after that goal. You're accomplishing things as a part of it. Does your body feel lighter and more open? Does it feel more energized? Or do you feel tight and stressed, like just thinking about it? Like real goals, the ones that belong to you, like they might scare you in a good way, but they still feel exciting. Those borrowed ones are going to feel like chores, like, and even before you start them. And then finally, like think about it like from the Giver Method's all about helping people discover their gifts as a part of that. So like try your gift connection, like a gift connection drill. Like think about what are your natural strengths, the stuff that just flow out of you. Are you you're a connector, you're a problem solver, you're the ideas person. And when your goals like line up with your gifts, you stop feeling like stop feeling far off fantasies. Like they start feeling like the most obvious next step that you would go after. When your ambitions line up with your true self, you stop forcing like anything and you start flowing. You don't need that external approval to like make that happen. You just it becomes a part of who you are. And the cool part is like when people see that authenticity, like they are really drawn to it. And at the end of the day, it's not really about like, can I do this? The question really becomes like, am I willing to step up and become the person who does? When your dreams are truly yours, like you won't just chase them, you embody them. And that's where the real magic will start to happen for you. Now the fifth one, our fifth strategy is like there's like the small, bold first step. Like there's a protocol, there's a method to follow, right? Building evidence of possibility through like these incremental, brave actions, momentum magnified into small, bold moves playbook for yourself. One of the fastest ways to crush like that let's be realistic voice in your head is to just start small and with some small, bold moves forward, like moving towards what you really want. And watch what happens. Most of us stay stuck not because our dreams are truly possible, but because they feel so massive, like that scary mountain, like where like that we're afraid to start down the path at all. But the truth is, like, you don't have to climb the whole mountain today. You just need to take a little step. And the wild part is that once you do, you realize that big and unrealistic dream isn't a giant leap. It's a series of small, doable bridges that like you can actually go cross. These small and bold moves, like they're like sneakily powerful, right? Because they're so tiny that fear doesn't even notice them at first. But they're big enough to create some sort of momentum. Send that one email, apply for that one opportunity you've been thinking about, start that conversation you keep avoiding. Every single time you do, you're not just moving forward, you're proving to yourself that you can. You're rewiring your brain to look at your goals differently. So let's talk about how you actually do this. So the first thing, kick it off with this next right move concept. Don't worry about the whole plan and the perfect strategy in any sort of way. Just ask yourself, what's the smallest real step I can take today? Maybe it's reaching out to someone in the field that you're interested in. Maybe it's writing the first page of that book. Maybe it's signing up for that workshop. Whatever it is, just keep it small enough that your inner critic, it can't talk you out of it. Just start with those little things. Let them compound over time. And then try this weekly bold move challenge where once a week you commit to doing one thing. No matter how tiny it is that moves you closer to a big goal. Track it in a journal or on your phone. Write down what happened and how it made you feel. You're gonna start seeing that you're way more courageous than you that realistic voice gives you credit for. And then of course celebrate each move that you do. Create that proof pile. Every time every step you take is a receipt that you're gonna store away that you're capable of doing that, and you save them. You write them down, you revisit them when doubt shows up, because you're literally building that pile of proof that you're not just a dreamer, you're a mover. It flips a lot of things in your head, because these small and brave moves, they turn those big dreams that maybe from a distant, maybe one day I'll work towards it, to you're living the reality of it. Each tiny step builds more confidence and shows you the new opportunities you couldn't have seen before, and transforms your identity into someone who can achieve their big dreams. Pretty soon, those unrealistic dreams, that they don't feel impossible. It'll start feeling like just the natural step that you should have taken already, that you could have ever taken. And trust me, that's where you really start to build a lot of confidence and momentum. Then our sixth strategy is this, there's the social circle expansion. Surround yourself with the people who normalize ambitious thinking. Sometimes you got to build up your community, and upgrade your circle around you, because your people, like, who are around you, shape your dreams more than you think. If everyone around you is playing small and calling it like let's be more realistic, like, of course, like, the big idea that you is going to feel really wild or foolish even. But what if you spend time with the folks out there who are chasing big dreams and meaningful goals, and like suddenly your dreaming starts to feel normal? Think of that social circle like a thermostat of your ambition. Like, it sets the temperature of what feels possible and what you think you're allowed to want. So you don't ditch your current friends and family, like, in any sort of way. You just have to intentionally add new voices that stretch you instead of like shrinking you. And so it's pretty easy to do this. Like, start leveling up your circle. Like, think of it like this way. Like, first start with like intention loaded inspiration. Like, go hunt for the books, the podcasts, the YouTube channels like the Giver Method channel, from the people who are actually living the way that you want to. Who are the bold people out there taking action? Don't just like scroll whatever comes across your feed. Like feed your mind with stuff that actually expands your idea of what's possible. And then next, try that like one brave reach out, each month, where you find someone who, is maybe a step or two ahead of you. They don't have to be some big celebrity, like just a little bit ahead of you, and send them a message, like ask a thoughtful question, or simply let them know that their journey inspires you. You'd be surprised how often people respond and want to support you on your own journey. And then you can create or join like who's your ambition crew, like a local coffee group, an online mastermind group, or even a few friends who agree to meet monthly and talk about real dreams instead of just small talk. Like, you want the people around you to think big goals too, that's just part of normal life, not some sort of outlandish fantasy. When you hang out with people who have these, like, who are after big things, your brain starts to say like, oh yeah, like, we can do this. Like, this is where we belong. You stop seeing yourself as like the odd one out, and you start seeing like big dreams as this default bonus. Like these people will often connect you with resources and ideas, encouragement that you didn't even know you needed, and can help you hit your goals and dreams faster. That environment supports your ambition. Like, gosh, your goals they don't feel like a lonely battle anymore. They feel like just natural steps as a part of where you're going. And then our seventh and final strategy is this like limitation audit system. So think of it this way, like, there's assumption investigations, and you need to be able to have this limit buster audit where you systematically identify and challenge these false constraints that you have in your brain. Most of us, like, most of the limits we accept aren't actual reality. They're just stories that we've inherited and absorbed without ever questioning what they were. This final strategy is about doing like a regular audit on your beliefs, and like, so you can tell the difference between between a real wall and like the wall that you just imagine is there. Most of us are carrying around these fake rules of what's possible. Like, we think like, oh, that's just not realistic for me. But like, we never stop to say like, wait, but it says who? Why? Like, when you start challenging these so-called rules, you'll be amazed at how many of them just dissolve when you like shine a little light on them. So here's what I want you to do to start building on this and like busting through these limits. Like, number one, grab a notebook or your note app and like do what I call like this constraint like sort. Write down like every reason you think your big goal is unrealistic, and then sort them into 3 buckets. Like fact, which is like truly external realities, like resources, stuff you might be missing right now but you can get. And then assumptions, which is like the beliefs you carry that like might not be true. And the spoiler is most of them are going to fall in that assumption pile. Next, like, do that like, well, who said that drill? For each limitation, ask yourself like, where did I learn this? Maybe it comes from a teacher, a parent, your workplace, or even just random culture noise. And then ask yourself like, is this actually true for me right now? You're gonna start seeing how outdated or irrelevant those rules and that program you have in your head really are. And then just pick one of those limitations, and each month go after it. If you think you're too old to change careers, like find the stories of the people who did it. If you think you need that MBA to start a business, find the folks who built something without one. Like, the goal isn't to like blindly believe anything is possible. It's just to see what's actually possible when you question your own story. Like, when you start auditing these limits, you stop letting the old fears and programming run the show. You move from that like I can't to like a maybe I can. That's that little shift. Like, that's where all the good stuff lives. Suddenly goals that felt miles away look like the open door right in front of you. You stop living inside the box that was never really yours, and you start stepping into the bigger life that you've been waiting for. Now, here's what I want you to really take away from this whole video today. There's that voice in your head that's saying be realistic, or the people around you that are saying that. Like, and it's not just trying to keep you safe. Like, a lot of times it's just fear dressed up as common sense so that you don't rock the boat. But the things we talked about, these 7 strategies we talked about today, like, they aren't just tools for chasing bigger goals. They're not just woo-woo, some sort of, idea out there, theoretical. Like, they're about taking your power back and giving yourself permission to, like, want what you want and go after what lights you up, and stop shrinking yourself into someone else's idea of what reasonable is. Your gifts and superpowers, like that wild, authentic potential you keep fighting, like feeling the tug at, like, they don't need to play small. They need you to be brave enough to ask, like, what's possible for me? And then start taking steps from that. Like, I've learned this myself from my own messy and beautiful journey of walking this path, and also going down this path with so many others. Like, there's this idea that the dream that seems unrealistic to everyone else is often exactly what you're designed to do, what you're being called to do. Your unique perspective, your story, your talents, your gifts, like, you're the only person that has that combination of things. So you're the only person who can create the value and impact that other people, need. They don't make you foolish for dreaming big. Like, they make you this perfect candidate of what you can do to make what you want happen. So my challenge to you is, like, stop letting fear dressed up as practicality steer the ship. Stop limiting, like, the things you've never even tested. Stop saying sorry for wanting more, because, like, your bold and big ambitions, like, they're not reckless. They're just that doorway to something more meaningful and a much more fulfilling life. Now, if you want to dive deeper into this sort of concept and into this work, then that's where, like I said, you're going to want to grab yourself a copy of the Giver Method, where you can go deeper into it. You can get it on Amazon. The link is in the description. Like, it's not about just going after bigger goals. It's about discovering and owning those unique gifts and making those goals feel like they were made for you in every sort of way. If you want some extra backup, some extra help, then once again, that's where you can check out the coaching page, where I've got one-on-one coaching spots that you can check out the details on, sign up for a call where we could discuss what that looks like for you. Like, having that person in your corner who's been there, is what people need, or you want to go faster through your development, and I can help with that as well. And then, of course, if you lead a team, run a podcast, host an event, or have a community where, like, they could use this message, let's talk about how we can bring it to them in a practical and down-to-earth way. You'll find that link down below as well. If this video sparked something for you, drop a comment. Let me know what hit home. And of course, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications so you keep seeing the content when it comes up. Now, here's the thing. Like, I really want you to remember, this realistic thinking isn't always, as wise as it sounds. Sometimes it's just that fear playing safe. The real risk, letting someone else's small thinking become your life story. The world doesn't need you to be more realistic. It needs you to be honest about what's actually possible for you. And when you stop hiding behind this, like, practical idea, like, you start stepping into who you really are and what you're really meant to do, you can really make that impact you were born to make. So I'll just say thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I cannot wait to see what you create when you start showing up, and living within your big dreams. Start living them out loud. And so with that, have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in our next video.